You found out about human design, went to the website, tipped in all your information, and now you're looking at the body graph thinking, what am I getting myself into? This is exactly what happened to me the first time that I tried to figure out more about human design. So in this video, I'm going to help you understand what this chart means, how you can read into it, the different keynotes that you need to understand to start being able to read and decipher your human design body graph. Let's get into it. My name is Maike Gabriela, and I'm a human design reader and an energetic alignment expert, and I'm the founder of the Transformational Human Design Certification, and I have helped hundreds and hundreds of beautiful, curious souls to make their life brighter, better, and resistance-free through energetic alignment. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, share it with whoever you think might benefit from this information, and leave any questions that you have below, because I love answering and figuring out how I can best support you. First things first, I want to share with you how human design came about. And this is something that I actually don't necessarily share with all of my clients who are booking me for a one-on-one reading or a session. But I think that it's kind of interesting and good to have a little bit of a background. And I think it's up to your discretion to see how you use that information and how you kind of digest this information. What you make with this information is up to you. So human design was actually channeled. This is called the voice. And so Alan Krakow, who is the person who has shared this vision and this download with the world, also known as Ra-Uru, heard this voice and it entered into his body, and during I think 7 or 8 days he was paralyzed and just like getting all of these downloads of what now we call the human design system. And I want to preface that this was a white man that discovered this on an island called Ibiza. So if you know Ibiza, you know that this is like the metropole of like the hippies and honestly in a very long array of time. So the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, still is, to be honest, let's be honest, it still is. And so I think it's kind of hilarious. Obviously it had to come and be channeled through a white older man in Ibiza, the famous place in Europe to take psychedelics and party, days without sleep. But it is what it is, and this is how the story came to be. I think it's up to you to decide. I lose a lot of people right now, to be honest. It's like, oh no, this is too much. I have come to the conclusion that I don't really care how it came into the world. What I personally really care about is the incredible impact it has had in my personal life and the people that I've shared this with, and how it has absolutely transformed and up-leveled my experience with myself and my life to date, and the incredible positive, empowering effect I see it has on the people that I have had the pleasure to work with. Before we continue with this video, I want you to know the 3 things that you will walk away with by the end of this video. So the first thing we're going to dig into are the specific keywords that you need to know to start deciphering the human design body graph and the information, the context that lies beyond, to go really deep. The second thing is that I'm going to share with you valuable resources so you can continue your learning, discovery, and deconditioning process through the human design lens. And third, but not least, I will make an example human design reading for you so that you can watch how the magic intertwines and weaves together the beautiful, energetic truth that we can find in our human design body graph. Let's get into it. Once you have downloaded the free human design chart that you can find on my website, you will get this kind of PDF where you will see your body graph and the keyword information. So the first thing that I want you to look at is type. And within the energy types, there's going to be 5 different energy types. And I made a video talking about all of them in depth here that you can watch, but I want to break down just the different components of energy type. It's a little bit controversial, but I really like to talk about the 5 different energy types, although the human design OG kind of Human Design 1.0 version of Human Design talks about 4 energy types. And the reason is because we have the projector, which is what I am, which is around 20% of the population. We have the generators, which is around 38% of the population. And then we have the manifesting generators. And so in the OG literature in Human Design, the manifesting generator is seen as a subcategory to the generator, because the manifesting generator is made out of the generator and the manifestor energy type. They're a hybrid, but their strategy, their core energetic way to move through the world is really, really similar to the one of the generator. I like to call out 5 different energy types because if you've ever met a manifesting generator, it is no way possible that they're meant to be a subcategory of anything. Manifesting generators are incredibly sparkling, powerful beings, and their energetic is so, like, I don't know, I feel them very strongly. So I do believe, and for me, the way that I just do things, I like to put them in their own category. You can see this also on my Instagram, where there's a ton of valuable free resources, and you will find a slide for all 5 energy types. So we have the projector, the generator, the manifesting generator, which is around 33% of the population. Then we have the manifestor, which is about 8% of the population, and we have the reflector, which is just 1% of the population. And so each of these energy types are kind of like archetypes, and they allow us to understand what our energetic body looks like, how we can utilize the universe to move into alignment with our soul's path. And so the beautiful thing about type is that it's divided into 3 different aspects. So each energy type is going to help us understand how our aura works, how our energetic body interacts with others. And each of these types has a specific way that it will take an energy and that would utilize their aura to connect to others, depending on the gifts that they're here to contribute. And so we have the energy type. Then we have the strategy, and the strategy is the literal way that you can utilize the universe to help you move out of resistance and find flow. And so the reason that I personally am so obsessed with Human Design is because of the strategy. As a tween, I always loved astrology, but to me, the missing piece is this tangible thing. And so this tangible thing in Human Design is the strategy. It really allows you to start changing your life. The second that you hear about your strategy, you can implement. And the moment you start using your strategy is the moment that you can really start seeing how the wisdom of Human Design can impact your life in such an exponential and transformative way. The not self theme is that yucky feeling that will help you understand when you've gotten off track to the path of your purpose. So what will happen is that you will sense and feel that not self theme in your body, because it's kind of like the signpost telling you, like, go, or whoever, you went the wrong direction. Like, you gotta find your path again. You have to use your strategy. You forgot to use your strategy. You're compromising too much. You're doing things your soul doesn't really care about. You're doing all the shoulds and all the musts, and you have forgotten to trust and listen to yourself and finding your own path. So that's what the not self theme is gonna help you understand. Then we have the signature, and the signature is really that northern star. The signature is what is the most important thing to you and what you should focus on to have that feeling of success, to get recognition, to get all of those things that you desire. Focusing on your signature is going to be the key element. So a lot of times we think we have to focus on all of these external measurements, but the thing that we really have to make our priority is feeling how our signature indicates to us, so that once we connect to that feeling, we know that we are aligned. When we feel our signature feeling, we know that we are on the right path. We know that we are, embodying our energetic authenticity. The next thing we're going to look at is our authority. And so the interesting thing about understanding our authority is that authority is the one tool that will help us make the right decision for us. And with every right decision that we take, we will be able to take a step onto the path of our purpose. Often we believe the way that we should make the best decisions is using the mind kind of rationalizing, but human design teaches us that we have this inner authority, this inner guiding system. And what you're going to see is that depending on where you have a defined energy center, you're going to be able to have one authority or a different authority. And it's really easy to start reading and looking at a chart without having to use any of the text is by just focusing on which is the first defined center within that body graph. So if we have a defined solar plexus, the person is always going to have an emotional authority. If they have a sacral defined energy center, they're going to be generators and manifesting generators because this is a key aspect of their energetic type. And so what's going to happen is that they will then respond. Their strategy, but also their authority will be responding. Then we have the spleen, which is what I am. For example, I'm a 3/5 splenic projector, and the spleen is going to be your authority if that is the first energy center that you have defined. We do not count the root center, okay? It starts from the solar plexus, but that's how we move up. So then we have the ego center, which will be the ego authority, which is something only projectors and manifestors can have because they're the only ones that can move through that without having a defined sacral center, right? So if everything is open until we get to the ego, it means that that is a projector or manifestor because they don't have a defined sacral, and that's what differentiates non-energy types, meaning reflectors, manifestors, and projectors. Those have an open sacral center versus generators and manifesting generators, energy types that have consistent energy because they have the sacral center, this motor center defined. Then we have the self-projected projector because they have this connection to the personality center and the throat. That is going to be their authority. And then we have the 1% that are the mental authorities, and that's what we switch into what we call the outer authority. These are the people that need to have people around them to validate and sense and feel what decision they should make. And then we have the reflectors because they have no definition. They have the lunar authority. So the lunar authority is in tune with the moon and the way those energies influence the reflector's personal chart. And you can watch a video on authorities here to learn deeper about this incredible decision-making tool. The next keyword to understand is going to be profiles. And so profiles are your karma. Profiles are the role you've come out to play in this lifetime. When you start understanding how to embody your profile, you really start stepping into your purpose. Your purpose is not that far off thing that is really hard to grasp, that has a name tag on the door of your office. Your profile is really who you've come to be, and moving through life understanding that the way that you learn and the way that you share information is in a specific way. And so what you will see in profiles is that you can have any number from 1 to 6, and I made a specific video for profiles where I go into each and every one of them that you can watch right here. And you're going to learn that you can look at the profiles just by looking at the chart. And so what's going to happen is that on one side of the column, you're going to have what we call the personality design. And the personality design is the part of you that you know certain. It's a part of you that comes anchored within inside you. You are aware of this side. But then you also have the design side, and the design side are the unconscious parts in your human design. And oftentimes they can come as just the support for you to access your life's purpose in this lifetime, but they can also come from inheritage. This means that there's certain traits in your parents and grandparents that have been passed down, and often they show up in our subconscious design or in our design side in our human design chart. And so what you're going to see is that when you put the little number that goes behind the sun personality sign in front of the little number that goes behind the design sign, that is when you get your profile. And so you're going to have two options. You're either going to have the smaller number first and then the big number, like the 3-5 profile, which is what I have, or you can have the big number first and then you can have the small number. So if you have the first number, the small number like me, it means you have a personal karma. And having a personal karma means that your life experience is going to be focused on really up-leveling yourself, and through that you will inspire others. Versus if you have what we call a transpersonal karma, it actually means that you're here to support other people, but obviously you always first have to take care of yourself to be able to create space for others. The next thing that you will see is definition. And definition is quite interesting because it tells us about the circuitry of all of the parts of your design. It helps us understand how different aspects in your design communicate with each other. And you will understand why you need a certain amount of influence or people around you. You will understand the way that you move through life through understanding the definitions. Because this is a topic that I like to discuss a little bit more in depth, you can watch the video that I've done on definitions right here to go deeper. One of the things that spikes a lot of curiosity are the colors and the lines that we can find in our human design chart. And so for this, I want to break down the energy centers. And so the energy centers, you will find them defined, which means that they are colored in, like you can see here in this chart. And you can have them open, which is undefined, which you can also observe in this specific chart. And so what's going to happen is that where we have definition, where you have color, those are parts of yourself that are unshakable. Those are truths about yourself that you know. This is where you have energetic dominance. These are themes in your life where you have learned your lessons and you really know what they mean and how they feel to you, and you're meant to express them with the world and share your experience and feeling and senses through these charts with others. What's going to happen with the open energy centers is that because they're open, you're going to have a heightened sensibility. You're going to have a richness of understanding what other people are going through because you're constantly taking in the energies of those energy centers within you. And you're going to really amplify those feelings and those thoughts, and whatever that energy center is connected to, you will be able to understand on a deeper level what that means, because you are open, and so you take in and you attract all of these experiences to create wisdom within. And so the next thing I want to discuss are the color of the lines, because this is something that I think a lot of people are always very curious about, and we can track it back to what I was saying before with the different columns. And so the first thing to understand is that we have something called gates, and gates are when we have just half a line. Okay, we're gonna have the energy center that you can see here, and then we have a half a line, and a half a line means that this is what we call a gate. There are 64 gates, and each gate is connected to the I Ching, which is an ancient Chinese wisdom. And so when 2 and 2 gates come together, they form a channel, and there are 36 channels within the human design system, and they will explain on a deeper level how these energies connect through electromagnetic pulsations. And so what we're going to see is that in your chart, you might have gates and you might see channels, and they will inform the different gifts and talents that you have within you. Because this is such a vast, incredible, deep information, I want to offer you a couple of resources that I think are going to help you greatly to continue your human design journey. To explain the channels and the gates a little bit deeper, especially when it comes to color, you're going to see that depending on which website you're using for your chart, and you can find this one on my website, MaikeGabriela.com, there is going to be different colors for the lines. So the actual color of the energy centers and actual color of the lines doesn't really matter. But what's going to be interesting for you to look at is that one of the colors is going to be the same color as the column of your personality design, because this informs parts of your gifts that you really know and that are very true to your experience. And then you have the other color of the other column, which is your design column. So these are going to be aspects that you've inherited, and these are going to be aspects of your subconscious that you might not be that aware of. So it's interesting to observe, just because sometimes there will be parts when you look at your design where you're like, oh, I might not really identify with this, or there's, you know, a subconscious part of you that's rejecting part of your design. And through seeing that this might be a generational trauma thing, we can look back at like, oh, you know, if this is is in the color of your design chart, then this means that maybe there is some generational trauma that we can decipher and get into and look at, okay? So we can track back if this is something that is from the now, from the present, that is keeping you blocked, or we can look at maybe if there's something that has been already, passed down generations before you. Before we get into the different resources that I recommend that you can go check out to continue on your human design journey and continue to learn and integrate all of the fascinating things that human design has in store for you, I want to talk about the Incarnation Cross. And so the Incarnation Cross, there are 192 different Incarnation Crosses. So I'm definitely not going to do one for 192 different Incarnation Crosses. But what I want to do is give you some insight on how you can start figuring out for yourself what the Incarnation Cross actually means and how you can decipher what it feels like for that person or for yourself. And so the Incarnation Cross is kind of like the leitmotif. The Incarnation Cross is that kind of like through line through your life that will help you accomplish your purpose. And it is more about the impact that you have on other people than it is actually for you. Like, yes, you will see yourself and your mission through your Incarnation Cross, but it will have a higher impact on the people that you interact with or people that interact with you, right? So you will meet certain people in your life that have a certain Incarnation Cross, and you're meant to meet at that particular moment because their Incarnation Cross is meant to impact you on which path you're going to go forward with. And so the Incarnation Cross, you can kind of like quote unquote calculate it. You can figure it out by looking at.
My beautiful people, as I was reviewing the video, I realized I made a mistake. So I'm just coming up in here to let you know that the Incarnation Cross is pulled out of the conscious sun and earth and the subconscious sun and earth. And when you look at where your gates are activated in those planetary signs, you will be able to uncover your Incarnation Cross.
When you put these together, you can kind of look at what the themes are within the gates that these planets are connected to. And when you look at the planets within these gates and look deeper into each gate, you will see how there is a specific theme that runs through them that will help you understand what their Incarnation Cross can look like or what your Incarnation Cross looks like. In human design, we have something that I think is so incredibly magical, and it is the reason why I started this YouTube channel, and it's called the Cellular Activation. So the Cellular Activation is this magical thing that happens when you get an oral transmission of the human design system. So every word in human design, maybe not every single word, but there's a specific human design language that carries a certain frequency that is meant to awaken your dormant DNA. And within this process, you will start your deconditioning process. And this means that no matter how many posts you read on Instagram or how many blog posts you read, there is nothing like hearing the human design information. And therefore, every time you look at a YouTube video that I've created, every time that you listen and hear the human design information, you're actually continuously really nourishing that deep cellular awakening that will start your deconditioning process. And this often looks like that after having a human design reading or listening to, a YouTube video that I've created, you will start noticing the things that have been said, the things that have been integrated, showing up in your life. Like, for example, if you're a projector, the thing that I see most, if you have had a reading or you go watch the projector energy type film, you're going to, in a couple of days, you're going to notice people starting inviting you, you're starting to feel your bitterness, you're starting to feel success. You will start looking at life through the lens of energetics, which I think is so incredibly fascinating. I want to preface this by saying that I really believe that in the day and age that we are now, where you can absolutely learn everything and anything from the internet, there's one thing that we're just starting to grasp the understanding of, and those are energetics. And human design is that one tool that really helps us understand how we've come to be. And it's not about me telling you what you should do, but it's about me trying to share with you tools so that you have access to yourself, so that you can rebuild that trust with your inner guidance, so that you can start building the trust muscle with the universe to understand that you're constantly supported supported to becoming the best and highest version of yourself, because only then are you able to access those beautiful gifts and talents that you have to contribute to the consciousness of the world, to the expansion of all that is good and beautiful and joyful in this world. Now that we've discussed the main keywords that you can find in a human design chart, I just want to remind you that even though you see so many other aspects like motivation, digestion, strongest sense, all of these things are incredible, but human design has such a vast, deep understanding of so many different things and allows us to tap into so many nuances that really I don't want you to get lost in just learning and learning and learning, because this can be the one thing that's actually preventing you from living out your design and seeing a magnificent result. So I am a very big proponent of starting with your energy type, really narrowing down your strategy, not self-theme, and your signature, understanding deeply and following your authority and embodying who you've come to be and correcting your karma through your profile. And once that is like really solid, then you can look at your charts and your gates, and after that, like way after that, then we can look at motivation and digestion and all of these things. But let me know in the comment if there is anything you want me to get into right now, and I'll try my best to cover that subject. Okay, let's get into resources. The number one question that I get asked is, Maike, what is a book you recommend? And to be honest, I don't really recommend any book unless you've had a reading before. And I'm going to explain why. The reason this is because all of the human design books that I have found so far are pretty confusing. And what I've seen in my sessions with clients is that they bring more negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, and fear than they actually encourage people to become their best version and become just aligned and understand the energetics behind it. So I really believe that the only book that I recommend once you had a reading or when you're really at a point that you feel like you really understand human design is this one. Here it is, okay. So this is actually in Spanish, but I bought this book originally in English and then I bought it in Spanish. This is really long time ago, because I started my Instagram account in Spanish and then I moved to German and now I'm in English. 3-5, living the life of throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping something sticks. English is what stuck. The reason why this is the only book I recommend is because this is by the actual person who channeled human design. It's called The Revolutionary System of Self-Discovery by Linda Bonnell and Ra Hu. It goes a little bit cryptic though, okay? I'm just letting you know, especially the gates and the channels. I think they're overcomplicated and it doesn't have to be that complicated, but if you're looking for a book, and I think this is the book that comes closest to the source because it is from the source, I recommend this book. So what I said is that I wouldn't recommend this book before getting a reading. So I really recommend, because of the cellular activation and this capacity of being able to ask questions, if you feel called to it, book a reading. Obviously, I'm available for readings, but I also have a team of readers that you can get an appointment from that have all been certified through the Transformational Human Design certification. So if you want to book a reading, I'm going to link it in the description box below so you can get curious and learn more about yourself, which is the goal here. As a next free resource, I'm going to toot my own horn and I'm gonna get you onto the Soft Power podcast. I am incredibly excited that I'm able to share more vulnerable, deeper, in a different context, all of the human design information and go really personal, interview experts in the Soft Power podcast. So if you want to know more about human design and just want to really have that continuous cellular activation and you just want to hang out with me a little bit more, then the Soft Power podcast is your go-to. As I mentioned before, I am the founder of the Transformational Human Design certification. So I actually have a beautiful course that you can access if you want to learn how to deeply, profoundly read the human design chart. And we have the transformational human design certification divided into 2 different levels. We have level 1 and 2, which is all that you need to know, which is what we've discussed here. You will have a very comprehensive guide of the story of human design, of the energy types and their trauma. You will learn how to really deeply read each energy type. There is in-depth profiles, there is in-depth authority, there is very nitty-gritty detail of all of the gates and the channels, and I explain them in the way that is really palpable. For me, the most important thing, and actually the only reason that I thought I could do this human design thing and contribute to human design in any way, is that I really focus on having a way of explaining things that makes you understand what it's about. I do not like this idea of like having a language that makes me feel superior to others or intellectualized so that nobody understands me. I really want you to become the person that you want to become, and being able to explain the gates, the channels, and all of the human design system in this very modern, easy to grasp, simple way is what I love doing most. Like, you'll have examples of Mariah Carey or Jennifer Lopez or Kanye West. They're all in there. And that's how I roll. So you can resonate with that or you cannot resonate with that, but I definitely would say have a look at this beautiful thing that we have. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into the example reading. You can go to my website, maikegabriela.com, check HD chart, and you will be able to put in the information of the person you want to do the chart for or yourself. So in this particular chart, the first thing that I can see is that this person is a projector. Why can I recognize this person being a projector aside from the text? Because their sacral is open and no motor energy center is connected to their throat. And so another thing that is going to stand out to me is first looking at the defined centers and at the open centers. And so we can see that this person has a defined root, which means that there's somebody who's meant to live under pressure, who's built to be under pressure, who is really going to thrive in high stress environments. And it's strongly connected to their spleen, their intuition, meaning that they have a very strong instinct, especially when things get intense, right? They're going to reference, they're going to call upon their defined spleen, their defined intuition when there is intense situation, when there's stress. What we can also see is that this person has a splenic authority, because we can see the solar plexus is open, then the sacral center is open. So by definition, literally by definition, because the spleen is defined and nothing else before is defined, this person has a splenic authority, meaning they're meant to really sense and feel in the moment if something is safe for them or not, if something is healthy for them or not. What it also means, if we look at the solar plexus being absolutely completely open, is that in this open energy center, they're going to be incredibly sensitive. They're going to be incredibly empathetic. They have the capacity to feel so much because they're constantly taking things in, because there is no other gift, because there is nothing else that they can take from. In having this open solar plexus, the way that I like to describe it is that we can imagine that the gates or the channels that come out of an energy center are a little bit like the colander that you use to like separate the pasta from the water. If there is absolutely no gate and no channel, everything just flushes out. And that's what happens when we have a completely open center. So the capacity of taking in has absolutely no filter. It has nothing to run through. So this person is going to have a very heightened sensitivity to everybody's emotion, to everybody's feelings, and nothing to really understand, which can make it harder for this person to separate their feelings from other people's feelings, meaning that they might not know if, you know, it's okay for them to cry, or if they're happy, if they're sad, because they're continuously open to all of the emotions of everybody around them, and it can be very overwhelming. So one of the strategies of somebody who is non-emotional is being very detached from their emotions and what they're feeling. And to some point that can be correct, but because the center is extremely open, we really have to be aware of conditioning. Can also be a person who's constantly very moody. And so we need to take this into account. The next is going to be the open sacral center. The sacral center is the energy center of lust, desire, creativity. What are we going to see? Because over 70% of the populations are generators and manifesting generators. One of the biggest lessons for an open sacral center is going to be the lesson of knowing when enough is enough. Because this person is going to continuously take in and amplify the doing and hustling energy of the world. They really need to become extremely aware of how much they're doing that is too much and when to stop before they move into a burnout. One of the things that I think is really, really beautiful to watch is the open personality center. And so the open personality center is really that energy center that allows us to understand the beauty of humankind. It is the thing that might make you feel lost at times in the world because you're not meant to have a clear direction. Your purpose in life is not figuring out who you are, but it's really figuring out who the person in front of you is. And you're going to have this incredibly heightened sensitivity to understand who is the person in front of you. And that doesn't mean that you don't know who you are. That doesn't mean that you cannot show up authentic, but it does mean that you're incredibly chameleonic and a different side of yourself is going to show up depending on where you are, in which environment you are, and with whom you are. One of the beautiful things here is gate 25. Gate 25 is one of my favorite gates, and it's the innocence of the child. They're looking at the world through the innocence of a child's eye. So if you have gate 25 activated, it will feel a little bit like you're taking a hike with your friends and you're gonna be like, oh my God, look at this tree. And all of your friends are gonna be like, yes, we've seen the tree. And you're like, yeah, but look at the leaves. And everybody's like, okay, we're looking at the leaves. And you're gonna have that, innate excitement about you, that looking at the world like, wow, like as if you were seeing it for the first time. And maybe right now this doesn't sound like an incredible gift to have, but when you're down the line 75 and everybody's bored with life and you go walking and you see a tree, you'll remind everybody, everybody will be like, oh my God, yes, the tree, the leaves, the beauty, wow, thank you for reminding us. And so I think this is really beautiful to have in mind. This person has a 1-4 profile. Right? And so the 1-4 profile has a smaller number in front, meaning this person has a personal karma. And so they're really meant to share their information with the community and the people in their life. When they are aligned, when they're living their projector strategy, when they're following the invitation, they will have a crowd of people that are really eager to hear and listen to what this person has to say. Mind you also that the 4th line has this externalization process. It's not a conversation, it's an externalization. It is really this flow of thoughts and ideas that the 4th line is meant to bring into the world when they feel comfortable with the people that they have in their life. So this person is really meant to be in a position where they have time to really engage themselves in things that they're interested in. They learn, they absorb, they get all of the knowledge and information, and then they're ready to share with their tribe. Then they're ready to share with the people, their community, and the people that resonate with them and where there's an invitation. And if we want to look at the Incarnation cross, one of the things that is really interesting to watch is that we have gate 31 and gate 27 as the unconscious design and the personality design in the sun composition. And so there's a very strong theme of leadership. There's this very strong theme of authority. And the 1 profile has always a strong sense of authority. They're always meant to kind of be somebody that people like reference to because they have this depth of information. And so when we look in the Incarnation cross, we can really see how the theme of leadership and taking responsibility and reframing what leadership means really influences them in the way that they're meant to show up in their life. I hope this little mini reading gives you a little bit of an understanding on how you can put things together, how this different information comes together, and all of the beautiful things that we can read out of a human design chart. This obviously was a very short mini analysis, but if you're interested in knowing more, please check the link out below. We have the certification to become a human design reader, no matter if you want to do this as a job or you want to do this just to learn more because you're curious, the way that I started. If you've enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave any of the questions that you have down below so that I can answer them. Thank you so much for your time. Your support means the world. Share this video with anybody you think this information could be useful for. And remember, I don't care what anybody says. I love you. See you next time.